Can breathing differently really improve my health? Yes, it can. And it can have a dramatic effect, believe it or not. Welcome to the Foundational Health Podcast, where we provide education and inspiration to help guide you on your journey to look better, feel better, and most importantly, heal better. Hello, and welcome to the Foundational Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Kevin Schultz, and today we're going to talk about the simple act of breathing and how to improve it to improve your overall health. The intent of the podcast today is to give you some simple go-to breathing techniques that can actually help you fall asleep faster. It can help you recover faster from a workout or recover faster from a stressful situation by calming your nervous system. Or it can do the complete opposite and stimulate your nervous system and help you become more alert, more awake, wake up faster, or to focus better when you need it. So let's dive into what this looks like. In the natural health and wellness world, these different breathing techniques are often called breathwork. So if you're somebody that listens to a lot of podcasts, if you follow natural wellness-minded things on social media, you've probably heard the term breathwork, which to some people, I often hear this and I kind of agree, it sounds a little crunchy, a little new agey, like something hippies would do. They do breath work. So if the term breath work doesn't work for you, if it just sounds a little too weird, then just do what I do. Call it breathing patterns or breathing techniques, because that's really all that it is. So breath work or breathing patterns are simply this. They're simply a change of a breathing pattern that changes our physical and our emotional health. So something that changes our physical and emotional health, pretty important. So here's what we know about breathing when it comes to physical and emotional health. So when we're stressed, and think about this, when you're stressed, when you get scared, when you're anxious, when you're angry, we breathe shorter and more frequent. So if I use the example of like an angry child, like when they get angry, like they're like literally they do that. And that is an example of what happens with our breathing patterns when we're stressed, scared, angry, something along those lines. Shorter, more frequent breaths. And what we know, when we breathe shorter and more frequent, this increases the stress hormone cortisol and other stress hormones. It increases blood pressure as well as other things that go up. And in a life-threatening situation, that's great. That's exactly what you want to happen. You want this spike in cortisol, this spike in blood pressure. If you're, to use the old cliche, being chased by a lion or escaping from a house fire, those are the things that you want. Your body is doing exactly what it is supposed to do. So that's really good. But when you're constantly stressed and you're constantly in this pattern of these short, frequent breaths, that is not only not good, it's absolutely horrible for your physical as well as your emotional health. And then what we know, the polar opposite, is that when we're relaxed, when we're sleeping, our breathing patterns slow and become less frequent. So polar opposite of that, what we just talked about. So breathing patterns slow down, they become less frequent, which then does the opposite, of course, of effects on our body. This is what decreases stress hormones like cortisol. It decreases and lowers blood pressure. So again, good in the right situation and obviously great when we're sleeping. These are the things that we want to happen. So really, all breath work is tapping into these normal processes that are already happening in your body, but you're tapping into them and altering your physical and your mental health in a very positive way that benefits you for what your body needs right at that moment. So there are tons of different techniques out there. If you start Googling this, researching it, going on YouTube, you'll find all kinds of different techniques, and frankly, many of them are fantastic. They're really great. You can go to 7-day long, 14-day long breathing or breath work workshops where that's all you do. And I think all of those things are great when people have the time to do those. But for the average person that's either not going to do that, doesn't have the time to do that, myself included, I like to focus on simple things that we can incorporate into our busy lives on a daily basis that can have a huge effect. So I have, after listening to tons of podcasts on this, after researching on it, and by no means am I an expert at all, but after doing a ton of research on it, I have two favorites that I use on a regular basis. So the first one is something that's called the physiological sigh. And the physiological sigh is used to calm the nervous system, to slow everything down, to lower the blood pressure, to reduce those cortisol and other stress hormones. So if we think about the sigh, like when people talk about a sigh, like give a sigh of relief. So it is something that just, it happens with or without, like you can give an intentional sigh, of course, like, so that's an intentional sigh, but that happens with or without intention. And so there's a scientist, I don't remember his name, but he was like the first person to realize like this happens everywhere throughout the world. It's not a cultural thing. It happens in the most stressed out societies in the world in New York City, and it also happens in the least stressed societies in these African tribes living in the jungle that have never been exposed to any of the things that we have on a daily basis. Everyone, every human being around the world does this sigh. So there has to be something to it. There has to be some science behind that. There has to be a reason that the body does this. And so he did the science behind that and found out not only is there a huge benefit to it and the instant calming of the nervous system, the instant cortisol dropping, blood pressure lowering, but he also, through these studies and lab work, found a way to improve it, believe it or not. And this is the birth of the physiological sigh. So what that is taking 2 prolonged nasal inhales followed by a prolonged exhale through your mouth. So it sounds something like this. So you're doing a deep nasal inhale. And when you feel like you literally can't inhale anymore, you pause and you do a second nasal inhale. And then you follow that by a prolonged exhale throughout the mouth. So if I was actually doing that, that would have taken me longer. So it's not a lengthy thing, but I would have done a full nasal inhale as much as I could. And then when I feel like I can't get any more, pause, do it again for a shorter one, and then prolonged exhale throughout the mouth. You can use these in multiple ways when you need to calm yourself throughout the day. So I'll tell you some of my favorites. So I love working out. Bare minimum, I do 3 workouts a week, but I try to focus on 6. And with every single one of my workouts, after a set during that workout, I do 1 to 2 physiological sighs. And the reason I do that is because there's science on recovery from workouts, because your cortisol gets jacked during a workout, which is good, but if it gets too high, which it often does, and you're not allowing it to come down, that affects your recovery. And if you affect recovery, your body doesn't heal in the same way, you don't build muscle in the same way, you don't get all the benefits of a workout. And we're not talking about just building muscle, we're talking about immune health and all of the other things that come with it. But that gets hurt when the cortisol stays too high. So just doing a simple 1 or 2 of these physiological sighs after each set can make a world of difference, and it can prep you for the next set that much better. You can recover quickly during the workout as well. And then post-workout, I like to do 3 to 5. You can certainly do more of these. And in fact, some of the recommendations and research are like laying down after your workout on the mat, taking 5 to 10 minutes of doing some of these repeated physiological sighs to make sure that you're getting a full recovery. And if you just incorporate, even if you're doing 1 or 2 of those, you'll notice a huge difference. And then also really important, even if you're not working out, at a stressful time, if you can just take the time, calm yourself down, do a physiological sigh or 2 or 3, and it absolutely is so effective on calming the nervous system. And then another time that I love to use it, and I honestly don't do it as often because putting children to bed and, I forget, I'm not as good a habit, but when I do it, it makes a huge difference. And that is right before going to sleep, doing 3 to 5 of those physiological sighs calms your nervous system, allows you to fall asleep that much better. And then the reason that it works is we know that that process, and the reason the body does it, even when it's not something that we're focused on, is it's offloading a lot of carbon dioxide all at once. And that is why it can calm and bring that nervous system down so effectively. Nutridyne is my number one choice for the vast majority of my family supplements. I'm a huge fan of nearly everyone taking what I call the foundational 4 supplements: a multivitamin, a spore-based probiotic, omega-3 fish oil, and vitamin D3 with K2. The large majority of people are deficient in many of these nutrients, and they are the building blocks to gut health, immune system strength, brain health, heart health, and every other aspect of your health. Don't fall into the trap of chasing symptoms with supplements, and instead start to rebuild your health with the foundational 4. We partnered with Nutridyne so that you can save 15% on every order, and not just with the foundational 4, but all of your other supplements as well. Go to foundationalhealth365.com, click on Shop Brands, and then Nutridyne, set up your account, and you're all set to automatically get 15% off all orders. Now let's get back to the Foundational Health Podcast. The second one that I love does the polar opposite, and this is something called cyclic hyperventilation. And this is used to stimulate the nervous system. So it's used to do things like increasing your focus, increasing or improving your mood, and especially increasing your energy and waking you up, which is often what I use it for. So what a cyclic hyperventilation looks like is doing a deep, very deep nasal inhale, but shorter, followed by an immediate mouth exhale. So, and then repeating that 25 times in a row. You do start to feel a little bit lightheaded. So the first time you do this, I certainly don't recommend doing it when you're driving, especially if you might not be in as good a physical condition. You don't want to start with 25. And then also you want to maybe do less of them as far as less sets. So you do 25 of those in a row, ideally, is what you want to work up to. And then after that 25th rep, you want to fully breathe all of your air out of your lungs and then hold it for approximately 25 seconds. And again, there is a variance. I can't stress this enough. If you only feel like, holy cow, I do 10 of these and I'm so lightheaded, then great. You're only doing 10, and then you still want to blow your air out and ideally hold it for about 25 seconds, but that can also be a variance of 15 to 30 seconds. And then you're working your way up to the point where you can repeat this for up to 5 minutes. So I love doing it 3 to 5 times in the morning. If it's on a weekend, I do it as part of my stretching routine while I'm standing outside, grounding. I love doing something you've probably heard me talk about before called health stacking. So I'm getting that sunlight in my eyes first in the morning while my feet are on the ground and I'm doing some grounding. I go through my stretching routine, eye exercises, breathing techniques all at the same time. So I love it for waking up in the morning, but then I also love it for doing a pre-workout when I need to get my energy up. And I love it even like on my drive over here today to record this podcast. I did some breathing techniques as well. So I love it for things like that because I do notice a massive difference in how I become focused, how I become more energized. So it stimulates your nervous system in a really good way. It's not like taking an overdose of caffeine to get some energy where you might feel jittery and not a good energy most of the time. This is just a great natural way to get some good short-term, but also long-lasting energy as well. And then one bonus that we're going to talk about for breathing that you've heard me likely talk about several times in the past, and that is something called mouth taping. So mouth taping, you'll find that the large majority of information out there is very positive about this. And there's a ton of natural health experts that have used this themselves, have used this with their patients and gotten tremendous benefit from it. But just like anything, even if you Google, like, are there dangers to cyclical hyperventilation and are there dangers to the physiological sigh, you're going to find like all kinds of scare tactics out there for anything that's natural. So, yes, if you have no ability to breathe through your nose, of course, mouth taping is going to be dangerous because you can't breathe. But for the average person, if you can breathe through your nose, that is the way that we're supposed to naturally breathe because it increases oxygen levels in the body. If you increase oxygen levels in the body, you increase healing in the body because the body thrives on oxygen. So the idea behind mouth taping is you certainly can use it throughout the day if you find yourself that you're a mouth breather, which isn't natural and it's not something that we're supposed to do. But if you're that type of person that is a mouth breather and you've got your mouth open all day long, if you're working at home at your desk, a lot of people will literally tape their mouth shut to focus and practice on breathing through their nose better, but it's primarily used when sleeping at night. So this is how my family uses it. And this probably sounds really silly, but proud moment for me. Earlier this week, I ordered, because where I was looking for our mouth tape and fighting over mouth tape as we go to bed at night. So I had ordered on Amazon and received 8 new rolls of mouth tape. And I put initials on there for each one of the kids and myself and my wife, Sarah, and told the kids, like, hey, I got something for you, expecting them to be like, hey, thanks, Dad. They were like, they acted like it was Christmas morning. Like they were jumping in my arms. They were hugging me. Thank you so much over a little roll of mouth tape. But that's how much my kids love it. And they love it because they notice the difference. They don't wake with a dry mouth with an awful taste in their mouth. They notice when they sleep without mouth tape versus when they sleep with it, that they wake up more rested. They just feel better. And that's why they love doing it. And that is why my family does it on a regular basis. So I highly recommend giving it a try if you're not somebody that has significant health challenges and problems breathing through your nose. There's no danger to it, no matter what you read out there. And then also, what many people will notice is it actually will improve sleep apnea when it's safe to do. And then it also will dramatically reduce, and with most people, just completely eliminates snoring because that happens through wide open mouth breathing typically. And so my favorite is called Nexcare, Nexcare sensitive skin tape. We can put a link to that in the show notes. We have that on our website under our Shop Now tab as well. But you can find that on Amazon. I just ordered it, so I know a roll or a set of 2 rolls is about $16, and those are like 12 feet long or something. So it will last you a long time as well. So there's a ton of mouth tapes out there. I've tried them all. Well, a lot of them. And this is by far my favorite one because of its stickiness and lots of other factors, and mostly because it is not insanely expensive like a lot of the other ones that are X-shaped or H-shaped are. It's just a simple roll of tape, but it does the job. The inspirational and educational takeaways for today. Number 1, success equals simple habits performed daily over time. And this is definitely one where you want to start with it right away. So before life gets too busy and all of a sudden you forget about it, because breathing techniques are not something the average person thinks about daily. It's not something like, oh, I need to do my breathing techniques today. So it's something that you want to start incorporating right away to make sure that it does become a habit. And one of my favorite tips for improving the likelihood of daily habits, whether it is a breathing technique or anything else for that matter, is to put a sticky note on your bathroom mirror. So just a simple sticky note of any kind that says breathing or stretching or keto or whatever it is that you're trying to incorporate, trying to focus on. Put that note on your bathroom mirror, because for the average person, of course, bathroom mirror is one of the first things you see in the morning, and it's one of the last things you see at night. So that's going to be a great way to help you with those simple habits daily over time. Number 2, don't underestimate the power of breathing patterns. It sounds like a silly thing. Even when I was doing this podcast, am I really going to do an entire podcast on breathing patterns and just a couple of them? But it really is an insanely powerful thing once you incorporate it, which I've experienced, which is why I'm sharing it with you. So focus on your breathing, and it can have a dramatic effect on your recovery. And if you improve recovery, you can improve every single aspect of your health. Number 3, as always, you are a leader. Lead by example. Teach your kids about the power of proper breathing so they can start it at a very early age. If you enjoyed today's podcast, found it beneficial, I want you to think about who needs to hear this message. Be a leader for them. Drop them a text, drop them an email, give them a call, tell them to check out the Foundational Health Podcast with Dr. Kevin Schultz. Breathe your way to better health. Until next time, make health your hobby. Thank you for listening to the Foundational Health Podcast. As always, if you would like to learn more about making health your hobby, visit our website at foundationalhealth365.com and follow me on Facebook at Kevin Schultz DC Foundational Health.